Hello, and welcome back to the Nonstop Podcast. My name is Erica, and I'm your host. On today's episode, I have the beautiful Miss LaShaun on the show, and we are discussing traveling with kids. Next Up Nonstop is a travel and lifestyle podcast that promotes the importance of traveling and mental wellness for millennial women. We discuss everything from travel to dating and careers to mental health. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for entertainment purposes only. All right, let's get right into it. LaShaun, go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks.
Sure. Hey, Erica, thank you for having me. My name is LaShaun Adesimilolu. I'm a tax accountant, and I love travel, so I can't wait to talk about this.
I love it. Let's get into it. Well, I appreciate you for being here and taking the time out to talk to us. So let's get into the juicy stuff, huh? All right. So did you actually travel prior to having kids?
I was very intentional. Like, I want this to still be a lifestyle. I want to still be able to continue traveling even with the children.
Absolutely. And that's how I feel. Absolutely. So what inspired you to start taking your children traveling with you?
Because it just couldn't stop. It couldn't stop, Erica. I always wanted to have kids. I always wanted to be a mother, but I wanted to travel too. And so I was like, and then I started watching like bloggers, and I'm like, well, this is a thing. You know, Black kids travel too. I'm like, this is a thing. Like, I don't have to have this stop me. And so, we kept going with it.
Yeah, I love that. So when did you get a passport for your little ones?
My baby had a passport the first month she was born.
I love it.
Before she was one, we were in London, we were in Africa, we were in Puerto Rico, we were everywhere.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. So how old you said you have a son?
I actually have 4 children now.
Love it. Okay. So what is the best age, in your opinion, do you think is would be for traveling with kids?
I feel like you can travel with kids at any age. As a mother of multiple children, I love the 2 and under, because as a flight attendant, like, that's a lap child, right?
Yep.
So they can piggyback off of your ticket. So when you're trying to budget this in, that's one less ticket that you have to buy. You just have to pay the taxes on that. If you're breastfeeding, or if they take a bottle, when they start crying, you just give them a bottle and soothe them. Entertain them that way. So I feel like the younger they are, it's still really, really good to travel with them. When they get older, they can read or take a tablet. So I just feel like any age is the right age if this is something you really want to do.
Yeah, I love it. So how often do you and your kids actually travel?
We travel all the time, Erica. So we travel all the time. So the longest that we went with traveling, this was right before COVID hit, right?
Okay.
And I had just read this book. What is it? It's all about, Tim Ferriss wrote the book, and the 4-Hour Work Week. Right?
Yes.
Have you read that?
I have.
Changed my mind, changed my outlook on life. So my husband and I have a business. We had a tax business. So we work primarily during the tax season. So I'm like, hon, wouldn't it be cool if we, for the other half of the year, if we actually just went out the country with the kids? And I was like, I got to do better. I can go to the other part of the world and live where the dollar is higher and have a better quality of life.
Yep.
So we planned it out. We took our house and we rented it short term, packed up all our personal belongings, and we took the children. So it was 3 children at the time. They were 4, 2, and 1. Right. And then my husband and I. We went to Thailand first. We got an Airbnb. God. We went there, and then it was just so nice. So I was able to find a nanny over there. Things that I didn't have over here. A nanny over there. We had people come and give us massages at the room. I had a cleaner. I was like, oh my God.
I love it.
Like, this is like, we had a private villa. Everything was $500 for this private villa.
Oh my God.
Massages were $10 when they came.
Stop it.
It was so, and
that's
I was like,
crazy.
Oh my gosh. I was telling everybody, I was kind of telling people on Facebook, like, oh my gosh, you guys, this is like a thing. Like, you can experience this type of life. Then we had to do a visa run, because when you're in another country, you can't stay usually over 30 days on a tourist visa unless you go out and come back in. So we found tickets to Bali. It was about $100 a piece. Which when I looked here before, it was like $5,000 to go from America to Bali.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right. And so it was $100. So we went to Bali and we had all of these amazing experiences. My kids we're doing this thing called world schooling. They're being
I love it.
Cultures. And I'm like, oh my God. And so it inspired me to start just taking pictures and videos and just sharing it, because I think that more people, especially people of color, but everybody, but especially people of color, need to realize there is life for us outside of the U.S. and we can have a better quality of life. It can cost us less,
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
Right. Especially with all the options for remote working now. Like if you can find a way to keep earning the American dollar and be out of the country, do it.
Yeah. And I would say, out of all the stuff that happened with COVID, remote work has increased. I don't even know how much the actual percentage, but it's crazy. If you can keep that going, I mean, you got it made. You got it absolutely made.
Yeah.
So where have you all traveled with your kids outside of, you said Thailand, Bali. So where else have you guys traveled?
So my husband is from Africa. And so our first trip was to Africa when my daughter was young. And I always wanted to go to Africa, as a young Black girl, kind of disconnected from other generations. Like I know my grandma and my great grandparents, but I'm like, what was it like before, before we got here? And so if anybody's listening has never been to Africa, it's just, and you ever wanted to go, the culture is just so incredibly different. Just being over there, you drive in, imagine all the billboards are of people of color. Any store you go into is somebody of color.
You see you. Yep.
And then the way they relate to you, everybody's like auntie or sister or grandma or mother. It's so beautiful. So we took the kids to Africa. Absolutely amazing. They went to school there for a little while. It was just a month.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. They did school.
Very cool. So what part of Africa did you guys go to?
We went to Nigeria. That's what we Lagos. Yeah. It's very, very busy, but it's absolutely beautiful. I love Africa.
I wonder, so how was their schooling experience? I'm sure it was different than, the States. How was that for them? Do you know?
Yeah, it's definitely different. So this was a family school. So his family has a school there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I think it's important to know that they start children off school very, very young. I say by 2 years old, they are in school, at least, doing something, practicing phonetics and doing something. I'm like, that's so different from our education system.
Yeah, we start at 5.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so they were ahead of the game. They're very sharp. Like African people are like, you will not be last. Like sharp. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, okay.
You better say that.
Yeah, they were like, So it's just amazing, and they're so proud, and they're dressed up in uniforms, and everybody's just looking immaculate. And when you come in, they were so excited that we were there.
Yeah,
I tried to teach a class one day because they were like, go in, teach. Yeah. They were making fun of my accent, like they could not understand me. So they were like,
no way.
Talk, but we don't know what you're saying. So
oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, it was incredible. It really was.
I love that. Yeah. So I was actually going to ask, so the next question I have for you is, how are your kids learning? How was it affected? Like, I know you said you're doing some world schooling, and for people who don't know what that is, can you explain that for them? Yeah,
world schooling is really just this idea that learning happens beyond the classroom, right? So before our kids get in school, we're always, as parents and relatives, our children's first teachers, right?
Absolutely.
So they're always watching us. They're always looking at us. They're always listening and picking things up. And when you know that a lot of that learning doesn't happen in the classroom, it happens beyond the classroom. So in different cultures now, they are learning about different fruits and different vegetables. They're learning about different dialects. They're learning how to relate to people. And like, the interesting thing that I've learned from them, they are not uncomfortable if they are the only person of color, or if people are speaking different languages. I have the cutest video when we were in Thailand. We were at this Airbnb and the kids were playing outside, and these 2 little Asian girls were walking back and forth, and they were like, Mom, we want to talk to them, but they don't speak English. And then I was like, well, say Captain Ka, because that's how you say hi. So they went up there and they said Captain Ka, and then they just started playing. And I was just like, isn't it so beautiful how they don't allow language to become a barrier? When do we learn this?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Right. So just things like, I think the human aspect, like how to relate to people, how to have compassion for the other person.
Yes.
See what it's like in different countries where everything is not like so great, because you know, sometimes you go in the bathroom and like it looks like a hole in the ground. Like
literally.
I experienced that lifestyle.
Yes.
A hole in the ground, right.
Yeah.
And seeing different animals on the street and just experiencing what life is like beyond with this, you know, they orchestrated so beautifully for us out here. We have it made, but what does it look like in these other places that maybe a little closer to nature, but you have less comforts?
Yes.
So yeah, very interesting.
I love that. Okay, so what have you learned about yourself while traveling with your kids?
What I've learned about myself is that really that anything is possible. That if I am courageous and I am brave, that I'm demonstrating that to them. So going to different countries, experiencing different things, learning different languages, they're all taking something back from that. And that is possible for me. I was the first one out of my whole family to really leave the country like that, except when they were in the military. I was the first one to go to Africa. I was the first one. And I've encouraged my family to travel. Like they are travelers now because they saw I
love that.
Going to Africa, me and my sister by ourselves, first trip out the country. And they tried to say, no, it's going to be dangerous. And I was like, man, I want to go to Africa. I want to do this. I want to do that. So that's what I've learned, that I can do this, that I don't have to be scared of the world, that I don't have to think anybody's out to get me, but this lifestyle is possible for me. And that traveling, the experiences that I'm making is so fruitful and beneficial. And I really wish that everybody could take that and go with that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you for that. That's beautiful. So what have you learned about your children and their development while you guys are traveling?
Like I said, like I'll never forget that in my whole life. When they were with those children, they just saw them and they started playing with them. But I just learned how, even with the nannies, they don't see color, they don't see language differences. They just see another human being, and they are excited to learn about them, to explore them. They see different places, and they're like, we were dining with monks before. We were in Toastmasters.
That's so cool, yeah.
So we went to a Toastmasters in Thailand. My husband was the president at the time. And so when we went to this Toastmasters club, it was all monks there. Me, my husband, and my 3 children. And they were like, and they're not scared. They're like, excuse me, why are why are you dressed like this?
Yeah.
Tell me more. And
inquisitive. I love it.
Right. They were like, okay, this is what's going on. And so just the courage of them and seeing them embrace these cultures, I'm just like, man, I'm so happy I could be the one to show my kids this lifestyle. Like,
now, do you think that confidence that you're talking about that you see in them, do you think that came from the travel and learning about new things and new places? Or maybe
I see that in a lot of children. I think that children really are born confident until somebody comes around and tells them differently. Like, they'll go on the sofa and they'll jump right from the house, right from wherever you are. Like, I have a little 7-month-old, and there was a spider crawling around, and she's like, I want to pick you up. I want to so like, I think it doesn't matter where they are, if they're courageous, but it's something about it. It makes you more courageous too when you see, like, man, I would have been scared to ask. You like, so kids are naturally courageous.
Yeah, that's nice. All right. So how do you choose the best places to go with your kids?
Yeah, definitely budget, right?
Okay.
I'm all about the budget. And so because we have the ability to work from anywhere, I like to travel when nobody else is traveling. Right? So the summertime now is kind of when I stay put, because everybody's off, everything is going up. But like in August, when school is back, that's when I travel. And it's primarily based off of the tickets, because that's going to be the biggest expense. So Qatar, they always have nice sales on international travel. That's when I book to Africa. And it's like, maybe you might have to get a layover, but if you get creative with it, like, people are very scared of long layovers, but I see that as an opportunity to explore another country. You can get a hotel room with your kids. Sometimes the airline is even going to pay for the hotel room. So,
there's some tips right there.
Hey, I definitely would suggest planning it around, and always, for me, go where the dollar is stronger. Like, I've been in Europe. It's cute. Europe is cute. It's a vibe. However, it's not a vibe on the pocketbook. Honey. It is not a vibe, right? The pound is more than $1. So you already spending more than you used to spending.
Yes.
But if you go to Central America, South America, the Panamas, the Costa Ricas, you don't even have to go that far. You can still experience another beautiful country, and you can still do it within a certain budget. And I feel like you can travel on any budget. There's groups on Facebook for those who are interested in world schooling, like world schooling groups. There are people who swap their homes, so there's world schooling house.
I've heard that. Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing, that they will swap. That there's pet sitting groups. If you're okay with like watching people's cats or dogs or stuff, like, there's ways that you can do this. You just have to set the intention. Like, this is what I want.
This is what I want.
This is what I want. This is what I'm willing to give. And then when you open yourself up to it and start looking, there's so many possibilities. There's so many resources out there. And there's more and more people who look like you and me who are doing this and sharing the journey and showing that this is something that's accessible to us. Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So when you travel, I know you were saying it's based on budget when you choose. Have you ever allowed your kids to choose, or have you ever gone somewhere where your kids are like looking forward to?
Yeah. They don't really know enough to choose right now. Okay. My oldest is 7 now, but now they just know like, okay, where are we going next?
Yeah. But they just ready for the vacation. Not the vacation, the adventure. Yeah. I love it.
Exactly. The next adventure. But whenever we go someplace, I try to incorporate like a little fun for them. Okay. So we went to Punta Cana, which is Dominican Republic this year. And they have a little Nickelodeon resort there. Nice. So we couldn't, it didn't make sense budget-wise. Okay, accounting didn't make sense budget-wise to stay there the whole time. But we could do it for a few days. Okay. So they had that to look forward to. We got to go to the Nickelodeon and spend a few days there. And it was like Kids World, and they loved it. Yeah. But we had an Airbnb. My husband and I, we found a nanny. Like, that's one of the first things. And then it also cooked. So I'm like, it was something for everybody.
Yeah.
It was something for everybody. And then you're helping people out too. Like, it's not just about you. You're helping that person who you're employing out too. Because she told us when we were there, like, look, I was able to get a new apartment, and really because you or your husband. And I was like, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that touched my heart right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, imagine just being able to travel and do things that you want, but how it benefits other people into those countries when you come in, bringing those funds. That's a real thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So when you actually travel, what concerns do you have when it comes to traveling with your kids? Are there any concerns?
I guess as a parent, some concerns is like, you don't want your child to fall sick, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to experience any illnesses. And I said that we've been pretty lucky for the most part, just like some, what do you call it? Maybe traveler's diarrhea or some stomach pains here and there. So I've learned to travel with like some Pepto-Bismol or stuff. But then I realized that a lot of these countries got pharmacies and it's cheaper anyway over there. Right. Like, okay, I don't have to do that anymore. But that's one thing that I to think about. If I'm going on a longer trip, I always look into like traveler's insurance. So that's the thing that you can look into if you're trying to do like a long-term stay and you don't want to worry about it. You can get something like that. Food. When you have small children, they can be picky eaters, right?
Yes.
And most countries, they're going to have some type of westernized supermarket somewhere around. But before I get there, I like to at least have some peanut butter and jelly.
There you go. Peanut
butter and jelly, just packing in there. A thing of cereal, tie it up real tight, pack it in there, and just little things that is going to make your life easier until you find what you're looking for. So, the eating concerns, the medical stuff, just making sure that they're okay. And I guess just safety, just making sure that you're in a place where you don't have to worry about them, like houses, like, is it safe? Could they go out and, play? Those are the main issues and concerns for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So have you ever had any advice from anybody about traveling with kids? And if so, what advice was it?
When you travel, you get all kind of advice. Some is like, some people actually seem really concerned, even family, like, oh, you sure you want to do this? You don't know anybody, they're strangers. So I get that. And I take that with a stride because their intentions, I think, are good.
Yeah.
They just don't understand that this is my journey and this is the way I want to do it.
They might have some fears of their own.
Exactly. And everybody has a different story growing up, especially different generations. They're not used to this, and they're still like, well, you're Black. You know, how are people going to relate to you? And so
100%.
Yeah. But I do think that there's one piece of advice I got is that, well, you do have some American privilege. And when I say American privilege, what I mean is that when you go to these different countries and you're a tourist from America, you are treated differently. I would say that they assume that you have a lot of money, so they treat you better. You're more safer because people are looking out for you, because they're like, our lifeblood is tourist money, and we don't want anything to happen to the tourists, because if so, it's going to be on the news and people are not going to come here. So people look out for you. They treat you well. And so I really think that type of privilege, which I'm not, unaware of it, and I embrace it and I try to help out as much as I can. But it does help calm your nerves when you're traveling to different countries. Yeah. Just that people know that.
Yeah. That's a good bit of advice. So where is some place that you want to take your kids that you haven't been to just yet?
I really want to go to Panama. I've heard great things about Panama.
A lot to do there.
Yeah. Panama, I have not been to. Guatemala, I'd love to go there and show the kids. Even Australia, I think would be really nice to see the Aboriginals if possible, and just explore the wildlife. There's so many different countries, even the ones that are not so popular, that I really would love to show them and just even see for myself.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So what do you hope that your kids will understand or learn from traveling around the world?
What I would hope that they would learn is that they can do it too. My grandma, she grew up and died in the same hometown. And most of the people from there have actually never even left their hometown. And so I just want them to know that it's possible. There's more to the world. When I see people like my two sisters, they're having trouble on the dating scene, and I'm like, there's a whole world out there. Even if you want to say you want a Black man, it doesn't have to be a Black American man.
Baby. Baby.
Yeah, there's people who love. There's somebody that's going to embrace you for who you are and love you for who you are, but you have to get out the box that you have to put in. Right. Yep. So if I can tell them, what I hope that my children gain from this is that the whole world is their classroom. The whole world is their oyster. And they don't have to be limited to this because this is where they were born or this is where their family is from. They have everything they could ever want at their fingertips. We're in a point in time now with our ancestors' wildest dreams where we can actually go out and do it, right?
Hello.
You can do it. Right? It's possible for you. If your mama can do it, raising y'all small, making it work, you can do it too. So that's really what I hope that they get from this.
That's beautiful. And I love that. So do you find that your children have a hard time meeting and or keeping long-term friends because of the way you guys travel?
It's kind of still too early to say because they're so young. So that might be an issue coming up, but I feel like with social media nowadays,
that's true.
You just make a friend and then they follow you all throughout Facebook and Instagram and TikTok world.
Yeah, no, I love that. Okay. So let's see. What do you do when you notice that your child is completely disinterested in a place that you've traveled to? How do you keep them interested and occupied?
I would say we find different activities to do. And sometimes you have to go more towards the child interest. Like maybe they don't want to do this thing that you always do there, but there's so many different parts of the country. Like I like to see what my children are interested in. Like sometimes they like to go by waterfalls. So we'll go hiking up to a place, like we go to hot springs. If I know that they like to activity or stuff, I'll take them to a mall or a playground or like a children's group. There's so many things. There's expats in every country too. Yeah. If you want them to meet somebody who, maybe can speak English and talk to them, you can meet with other expats. Like there's so many groups and resources on Facebook. And so if you just look at your child's interest and ask them, like, what do you want to do? They'll tell you, like, well, I want to do something like this. And then just go with it and flow with it.
Yeah. I love that. So what I'll do is I'll ask you one more question before we start to wrap it up. So what advice do you have for parents who want to travel but are hesitant because they have kids?
I would say that if you want to travel and this is something that you know you want to do, then just do it. It took a death in my family, right? It took my cousin, who was very close to me, like my brother, passing, to realize that I can't wait till I retire. Like I can't wait, because what if that day never comes? And then I would have lived my whole life waiting for this great expectation that's never going to come. And so if you want to do it, go and do it. If you want to start small. Start looking at YouTube videos. Look at other families that travel. Look on Facebook group, World School of Families. There's so many people doing it. Find out what your budget is. Start small. Even if you have to make a quick run somewhere and then come back, just start small, but just take little steps and eventually you'll get there. But please don't die with your dreams still in your heart, because somebody is waiting on you to go and live that dream so it can inspire them to do it. So it's deeper and it's bigger than just you.
Oh, I love that. I love it 100%. And you're so right, because it happens every day. There's people that never get out of their neighborhoods or their hometown, like you said. And they're like, oh, I see it on Instagram, but to them, it's not attainable, when it absolutely is. You just got to get creative sometimes, right? Absolutely. So I would 1000% agree with that. So I appreciate you, LaShaun, for coming on the show today. Can you tell everybody your social media handle so they can start to follow you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at the Lamb Fam Life. We also have some YouTube videos. We'll be putting more up on the Lamb Fam Life on YouTube and the website, thelambfam.life.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much, Erica, for having me. Absolutely. I love this. I love the discussion that you're starting. You are really making this achievable and attainable for somebody, and I really appreciate you.
Yep, that's the goal. That's the goal. That's why we're here. Well, I appreciate you guys for hanging out with us and tuning in to the Next Stop Nonstop podcast, and we'll see you guys for the next episode. And to my Next Stop Nonstop family, I want to remind you that as a new podcast, it's extremely helpful when our listeners and viewers can write a review on iTunes or repost the episode link so that we can grow our Next Stop Nonstop family. I want to truly thank you all so much for tuning in today. Make sure you tag at Next Stop Nonstop in any of your comments, or if you have any topic suggestions, or if you just have a question for me. Next Stop Nonstop can be found on all social media. So until we meet again, I want to wish you healthy minds and happy travels.